Hi everyone, in this episode we're giving this 2014 BMW F30 a major technology upgrade that completely transforms the driving experience. We'll be replacing the factory display with a brand new, super cheap CarPlay screen that offers wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, and even phone mirroring. It features a responsive touchscreen, three modern user interface themes, and a clean contemporary design while still retaining access to the original BMW menu. You can control it either by using the touchscreen or the factory iDrive controller. Switching between the original BMW interface and the new CarPlay screen is as simple as tapping the display. You'll also be able to stream your favorite music instead of relying on outdated CDs or flash drives, and thanks to full DSP support, the sound quality is even better than the factory system. And if you ever find yourself waiting for someone or stuck in traffic, the built-in phone mirroring feature lets you enjoy video content directly on the display. In this video, I'll also show you how incredibly easy it is to connect a rear view camera to this screen, an upgrade that can help prevent expensive parking accidents and make reversing much safer. Let's start with a short unboxing. For this customer, I purchased a CarPlay display from REEIIO, just as I have done for many of my previous projects, because their prices are actually lower than similar products on AliExpress, and I've never had any issues with the quality of their products. I've added the seller's link in the description and in the first pinned comment. REEIIO also offers a 22% discount code, but I negotiated a 23% discount code for my viewers, and although it's not much higher, in the end every dollar counts. Inside the box we of course have a very useful user manual that contains everything you need to know for a proper installation and setup. I'll be showing you all the installation steps anyway, so we won't go through the entire manual in order to keep this video from becoming too long. Inside this white bag is the 10.25-inch display that will replace the original 6.5 or 8.8-inch screen. As you can see, it has an identical design to the original and uses the same mounting system, and as you'll see later, the installation is very simple and quick. It's literally plug and play. Next, we have this main wiring harness with the two quad-lock connectors commonly found on most factory multimedia systems. Here we have the internal aux connection. For vehicles built before 2013, the manual specifies that you need to connect the aux cable provided in the box to the aux port inside the center armrest. This customer's car is a 2014 model, so this connection won't be necessary. Next, we have this adapter with two USB ports. If you choose to connect it, you can use one of the ports for wired Apple CarPlay or wired Android Auto while simultaneously charging your phone, and the other port for playing media files from a USB flash drive. There's no need to connect anything to the small mic port. Here we have the wiring harness for the front camera and the reverse camera. On vehicles equipped with an automatic transmission, the display receives the reverse video signal through this yellow RCA connector, while the camera is powered through the brown wire. On manual transmission vehicles, the camera's power wire must be connected both to this pink trigger wire and to the reverse light at the rear of the vehicle. I'll leave a link in the description to a video where I demonstrate every step of the installation on a manual transmission vehicle. That's everything included in the box. Now let's head over to the car and quickly install the display. I began by unclipping this dashboard trim. I didn't even need a pry tool. It came off very easily using just my hands. Next, we have the two connectors from the hazard light switch. The first one can be removed by pressing this locking tab with a small pointed tool. For the second one, you can simply use your fingers. Press the locking tab and pull the connector out. This is what the back of the trim with the air vents looks like, so you can see where the retaining clips are located. Next, I remove this trim underneath the climate control panel. It will most likely come off without the help of a trim removal tool as well. There is no need to disconnect the connector from this trim. The multimedia and climate control panel is secured with 4 T20 screws, 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom. Once you've removed the screws, the panel comes off without any difficulty. There's no point in wasting time disconnecting its only connector because the cable is long enough to allow the panel to hang safely to the side. The factory head unit is also secured with 4 T20 screws. Now the head unit slides out easily. I'll remove the display first, which is held in place by just two T20 screws. I also used a magnet to make sure I wouldn't drop one of the screws. From my experience, that could easily add quite a bit of time to the installation. As you can see, the display is now free as well. I'll now start making the necessary connections behind the factory head unit. I started by disconnecting the quad lock connector. I'll show you how the locking mechanism works in just a moment because the wiring makes it difficult to see. Simply press the two locking tabs on both sides of the connector and pull the plastic locking lever backward. Here we have the fiber optic connector, which will transfer to the aftermarket connector a little later. At the display, we only have a single LVDS connector along with the two wires that provide power. There's a simple locking tab that you need to press before pulling the connector out. I personally like using a pry tool because it saves a little time. And that's all there is to removing the factory display. Now I'll take the original LVDS connector and plug it into the lower LVDS port of the new display. Always make sure that every connector is fully seated before moving on. The owner also wants to install a reverse camera integrated into the tailgate handle, but the camera hasn't arrived yet. I'll still show you how to make the connections using a universal backup camera. I'm not going to connect the dual USB adapter because all the features and applications we need are already available wirelessly. Of course, it all comes down to personal preference. Now let's remove the fiber optic connector. It's very easy to do. It has a retaining clip right here. All you have to do is lift this plastic tab to release the retaining clip while pulling the connector out. Now I'll take the aftermarket connector that mates with the original one and connect the two together. Don't forget to raise the locking lever on the back of the original connector, otherwise you won't be able to connect them. Then simply lower the lever and you're done. The fiber optic cable is fairly short, so I'll first have to position the aftermarket quad lock connector behind the factory head unit before transferring the fiber optic connector into it, placing it in the exact same corner where it was on the original connector. The white side of the connector should always face outward. Don't forget to make sure it's fully locked into place. The locking lever on the back of the aftermarket quad lock connector has a small tab that needs to be pressed before you can raise the lever. Raise the lever and insert the connector into the factory head unit. Once most of the connector is seated, lower the lever to lock it into place. Now I'll take the main power and data cable for the aftermarket display and route it through the dashboard up to the screen. There's an opening that's large enough to feed the connector up toward the air vents. From there, the cable can be routed above the air ducting, and through an opening in the dashboard, the connector comes out directly behind the screen. I've plugged the connector into the corresponding port on the display, and now we're ready to test it. I started the car and the display booted up extremely quickly. I didn't even have to set the resolution for the factory interface because it was detected automatically. I selected aux as the audio source and the audio worked perfectly. Now let me show you how easy it is to connect a backup camera on a vehicle equipped with an automatic transmission. This is a universal camera, but the connections are exactly the same for dedicated cameras as well. Plug the RCA connector into the RCA port labeled back video in, then connect the power wire to the brown wire. Select aftermarket camera in the display settings, and now I can shift into reverse. The image quality is much better than that of the original analog cameras because modern aftermarket cameras use a digital video signal. On the right side of the screen, we also have the parking sensor animation, making it much less likely that you'll hit something while reversing. The reassembly process is simply the reverse of the installation, so I won't show those steps again. One important thing to mention, however, is that before sliding the factory head unit back into place, you'll need to move the connection between the two quad lock connectors out of the way toward the rear left side, where there's a perfect opening to accommodate it. This is what everything looks like after the installation. Honestly, it was extremely simple, and with the help of this video, even a complete beginner should be able to do it in less than 1 hour. As I mentioned earlier, the iDrive controller remains fully functional for both the factory interface and the aftermarket display, which is great because it helps keep your attention on the road. Switching back to the aftermarket interface is as simple as tapping the screen. The menu is looped, the touchscreen is very responsive, and as always, my demonstrations are recorded in real time. I'm genuinely impressed by how quickly you can scroll through the menus. The interface can be set to a wide variety of languages, which is something I don't often see on devices like this. Most of them usually support only a few Asian languages and English. The display also features a built-in DSP, allowing you to fine-tune your car's audio with advanced equalizer settings, time alignment, crossover control, and sound optimization for a richer, more immersive listening experience. Another thing I really like about this display is that you can choose between 3 different user interface styles, all of which look clean and well designed. The initial pairing process for Apple CarPlay and Android Auto is extremely simple. Just select the corresponding icon and connect your phone to the display's Bluetooth device, whose name will always start with car, followed by a unique combination of letters and numbers. After the initial pairing, all you have to do is turn on Bluetooth on your phone and CarPlay will launch within a few seconds. Likewise, if Bluetooth is already enabled when you start the car, the display boots up very quickly and CarPlay connects automatically. Navigation through the menus is very fast whether you're using the touchscreen or the iDrive controller. The wireless connection is stable and completely free of noticeable lag.
Let's take Freeway A1.
Pairing an Android phone and activating Android Auto is exactly the same as with CarPlay. The connection is very fast considering that everything is done wirelessly. As many of you know, I've tested a huge number of adapters, modules, and CarPlay screens, and I have to say that this is the fastest one I've tested so far. This display also includes a YouTube function through the built-in browser, although the loading time before a video starts playing is fairly long. It's a feature I haven't seen on any other CarPlay display, and integrating it into a Linux operating system is definitely something innovative. Hopefully, in the future we'll also see streaming platforms integrated, just like on Android head units.
This is one of the projects that has been on my bucket list, and I've wanted to do it, but
Nothing like kicking off a project by dodging spiders and stumbling upon vintage poison. I'm turning this shed into the cutest workshop you've ever seen, but first we need to clean it out, and I really didn't know what was in here because it's a mix of random.
For video apps, however, I recommend using the screen mirroring function because it's virtually instantaneous since it relies on your phone's hardware, which is far more powerful than that of any CarPlay display or module. And now we have audio. I cannot play too much of the song because I will receive copyright claim. This display has an excellent resolution, and if you're stuck in traffic for hours or waiting for your kids to come out of school, it can be a very useful feature. Just remember not to use this function while driving, it's extremely distracting and dangerous. In conclusion, this display is currently one of my favorite CarPlay displays on the market. My customer is extremely satisfied with the purchase, especially because by using my discount code, he bought the display for less than the price of many standalone CarPlay modules. Apart from the YouTube browser function, which is still fairly slow when loading videos, I can honestly say that everything else works great. The display completely transforms the interior with its modern appearance, adds wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto, features that many brand new cars still don't offer, gets rid of those annoying phone mounts on your windshield, and the incredibly simple reverse camera integration can help you avoid unpleasant and expensive parking accidents. That's about it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it and found it helpful. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave a like and post a comment below. Until next time, safe travels and all the best.